Welcome to Real Authority. Today I'm talking about Wicked for Good, my third most anticipated film of the year, and the sequel to the smash success Wicked, also an adaptation of the Broadway play. Before getting into it, I apologize if I sound a little bit more low energy. It's because of last night being the time when I actually saw Wicked for Good. Plus, I decided to do this review first thing in the morning because I can meet the review embargo, and this will be the first time on my YouTube channel that I actually do that, so that's going to be pretty cool. So The Wizard of Oz and Madame Morrible have made Elphaba the Wicked Witch of the West, in which she has to try and show Oz that that's not true. And of course, we continue to see the friendship of Elphaba and Glinda develop in the midst of this chaos and emotional situation. Wicked was my most anticipated film of last year. I really was hoping for a great movie with the original one. No matter how high my excitement was, I thought that it probably wouldn't be perfect. It was my second favorite film of last year, so of course I was excited. Plus, I was really hoping for a continuation that really recaptured the magic of the first one, because I can say that the first one was a magical experience. And considering that the same cast and crew are returning, granted this was shot back to back with the first one, so of course it would probably feel like the first movie. No, it doesn't in a lot of ways. I'll get into it in a little bit. Let me start off with the positives. First, with the same cast and crew returning, the acting's still great. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande continue to give incredible performances as Elphaba and Glinda, showing an organic transformation and evolution of their friendship, trying to maintain it in the midst of them drifting further apart because Elphaba is being labeled as a villain while Glinda's being labeled as the savior. But Glinda knows that what they're labeling her as is unfair. So yeah, they give tremendous performances. Everyone else does, although I will say their characters and how they go negatives, I'll wait until the negatives. Won't go into too much detail with Jonathan Bailey yet, but he still was a standout in this movie, which, yeah, I enjoyed. John M. Chu absolutely does a tremendous job with directing. I mean, he did with the first one in making it feel magical and grand in scope. He does the same thing here. Paul Tazewell and Nathan Crowley's work on the set and costume design, respectively, that is still tremendous. It really does make you immersed in the world of Oz, and they continue their incredible work here. I wouldn't blame the Academy if they gave Tazewell another Oscar, although Sinners is going to be hard to beat. But regardless, it stands out here in the best way possible. And there were at least 3, maybe 4 songs that really did work. I'm trying so hard not to get into the negatives right away because, yeah, this movie has a lot of flaws that I was able to easily find none with the original. Alright, the visual effects complemented the set design and costume design pretty well as the practical effects on display. The overall ending was great, and I do feel that with the film in general, it's at least admirable the risks it takes. It takes a completely different direction than the original film, which I can respect. However, I do feel that it's lost some of that magic and contains a lot of issues than the first one. And I will say that I haven't seen the Broadway play or read the novel it was based on, so these issues might be either in those or different from those. I just want to make it clear it is flawed. I guess starting off with the narrative, like the screenplay from Winnie Holzman and Dana Fox isn't bad by any stretch of the word, but I do feel the narrative in comparison with the first one, it just doesn't flow organically. Like, I appreciate the darker direction they took. Definitely something that is respectable, but it does feel in contrast with the first one. Plus, it runs the risk of being too fan servicey to the original Wizard of Oz. No spoilers, but Wicked for Good sets itself up simultaneously with the Wizard of Oz story that we all know and love, but it also tries to tie itself back to the main story. But I do feel like with this version of these characters, it just feels odd and weird, and just feels like, okay, we need to tie it back to Wizard of Oz, because there are a few tie-arounds that they make that are good, I will admit to that, but all the other ones just felt weird. And I get tying back to the original Wizard of Oz. Wicked is basically the Wicked Witch's perspective on the story of the Wizard of Oz. But I do feel with this movie, they really had trouble organically making it make sense, which really does suck because honestly, it takes me out of the movie. And maybe if they were more subtle, it would work, but also with this version of these characters, it was just a hard task to do. And with a lot of the characters, their directions this time around really did feel off. No spoilers again, but Jonathan Bailey's character, like, he was a standout in the first one, a highly comedic, highly energetic character that I did appreciate. But where his character goes in this movie, it just felt very odd and off, and it didn't really feel like it was the same character in a lot of places. I'm just saying myself, it felt odd and weird, and the tie back to him with the original Wizard of Oz was very... why? Whatever, might be an issue with the original play, but it answers questions that don't really need to be answered. Speaking of Wizard of Oz, they have the same Dorothy design, and I do feel maybe that's why I'm finding more issue with the references in general, because the way they portray the original characters of the Wizard of Oz, it's kind of like, yeah, it goes against what we saw in the Wizard of Oz. Like, I know the Wizard of Oz in general is basically Dorothy's dream, so that's there, but seriously, this is not the Wizard of Oz 1939 in my opinion. I don't know why they went with the same design. Then again, it's iconic. Moving on from that, the 2 hour and 18-minute runtime is about 30 minutes less than the original Wicked, and yet somehow I felt the pace was fantastic in the original. Here is a lot more clanky. I hesitate to say boring, but I did feel some tedium in here, mainly because the narrative is a bit wavy, going all over the place, which really does stink because the first one really had a straightforward pace and really didn't overload you with, I guess, a lot. I don't know. Could just be me being tired and being... But yeah, for the pacing, it doesn't run like that, like the first one, which really did disappoint me. One other thing before I wrap up, in terms of the songs, like, I do feel a lot of the songs in the original Wicked were great. Like, of course, you got the standouts, The Wizard and I, Popular, and Defying Gravity, but I honestly been thinking a lot more about the other songs in it, like Dancing Through Life. Here, in terms of the standout songs, like, all the songs are good, but I do feel that a lot less stand out in terms of not only effectively complementing the narrative, but just to listen to, which was disappointing. Then again, they might be pulled directly from the show, so I don't know which version is better. I'm just saying as a guy who enjoyed the first Wicked and is just trying to analyze it objectively, I guess. But in terms of the songs, I noticed a clear downgrade. None of them are bad by any means. They're all good with everybody giving it their all, but I just did feel that there weren't as many songs that stood out. In terms of my favorite one, maybe the Wonderful song with the Wizard, and then the main song, I don't even remember the name. I knew Defying Gravity. That's how much the songs really don't stand out in here, which really does stink, but that's just me. Again, they're all good. You may have a different perspective on the songs, but I did hear a clear difference from the music of the original to this one. That's just me, though. Overall, Wicked for Good is good. It's just not as great or life-changing as much as it wants you to believe. Like, I do feel Wicked 1, it genuinely feels like it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, especially considering how everything worked. Granted, I heard from some people that it was definitely going to be different, and it may not be as great as Wicked 1, as in the first half of the Broadway play than the second half, so obviously that's a hard task to do, especially since if they're trying to be as accurate to the play as possible, they would probably want to keep everything that made the second half great, including the issues. So I get it. I'm just coming at it from an audience perspective. It was good. It was entertaining, but I do feel that the first one was better in a lot of places. This one has a lot more issues. But the acting, directing, screenplay, set design, costume design, visual effects, everything that makes this movie good, it does make up for it, but it's just not as magical or perfect as the first one. But I would recommend it in terms of getting the conclusion to the story that you've been waiting for a year, so at least it gets that job done. But it was disappointing considering the high expectations, but sometimes that's not a bad thing because the real authority would still approve 8 out of 10. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and comment your thoughts on the movie, and let me know which one is better, the first or the second. Also, let me know how it stacks up to the Broadway play or novel. Alright, peace.